Hi everyone, welcome to my happy spot. In the last video, I talked you through the making of this central piece here, this one here. That was in the Fun Fused Flower video. As I said to you then, I felt it needed a little bit of something more, so I did very little embroidery. These are just extended colonial knots, as are those there. In the round, this one I just did colonial knots, and there a few straight stitches with colonial knots in the center. Up here, those are just 3 chain stitches but done with double thread, and I felt that was enough. The white square that bothered me, I added the butterfly like I said I probably would, and if you're going to add one, you might as well add 2 more, so on they went as well. This week I'm going to talk about the border that I put on. Now, in one of my previous videos, which was the quilt show video showing the woven borders, some of these, well, all of these quilts were in there, as were quite a few others. And if you're interested, go have a look at that. It shows you more quilts, and you see the quilt with the border on, which is it gives you a better idea. But I thought I'd put these few in again just to refresh your memory about your possibilities. This one here was just a very simple border, as in, or an uncomplicated one color wise, very much plain of fabrics, not a lot of stitching either, but that was fine there. This one again, also not a very complicated one, but I think in these two they really show that if you do use colors that pop, accent colors, in this case it would be the turquoise as the and the yellow and the lime green as well, that it's often really good to use contrast colors if that's the look that you want. This one is this border is made with only 2 fabrics, that background one, and these were woven in. Just a little something about this particular one. When I do the weaving, I'm not that concerned about the fabrics. It's more about the color choices. And this fabric in here, I've just remembered looking at it now, was a really thin, soft viscose. I made a shirt out of it for somebody, and the one next to it was a decorative fabric, very thin viscose as opposed to a quite a thickish decorative fabric, and they worked well together in this case. Fabric choices here, perhaps a little bit more kind of matched up. I'm not quite sure what to say about this, except that it's got a gentler look than that one has, because of the fabric choices and because it's got more stitching. And then this one again, gentler choices, a lot more stitching, and you can see the difference between this, gentler choices, a lot more stitching, as opposed to that one. So these are all considerations when you choose your fabrics for your weaving. Now I wanted on this piece, I did want a gentler look, a more muted look. So my color choices and my use of stitching and my threads, obviously I took that into consideration. Now in the weaving video, I've explained all the techniques that I use in there, so I'm not going to dwell on those too much today. I think if you go back and look at that video, those who haven't seen it yet, they will be able to I'll catch up on the techniques. But speaking about this particular border now, I obviously Had to decide on a size. I cut the pieces 5 inches wide. I cut them 5 inches wide, and after all the stitching, when I cut the borders, I cut 4 and 3/4 inches. So I lost a quarter of an inch, which wasn't much in this case. I decided to put the side borders on first, so I cut them 18 inches in length, and the length, then obviously that border and that one comes on next, and for that you have to take that measurement and add two borders. So not that measurement, sorry, you have to add this measurement plus your two borders. So then I cut 22 inches there. 22 inches by 5 inches, 18 inches by 5 inches. That was on my original A4 sized center. So you decide on your size and your width, and you cut yourself a base fabric, which in this case it's this cream. It's quite thick. Well, actually, it's not that it's thick. It's medium weight, but it's very firm. It's a polyester, so it's got a nice. It gives me a nice firm base on which to work. This also was a polyester fabric, but I liked the little stripe in it. I liked the effect it would. I knew that it would give me there. When I cut, like I say, you need to refer back to the first video to see that we cut differently there. But in this case, this is what I did. That was my first cut. I curvy bit with some points, scoops, scoop, round, pointy bit, and another curve. And I repeated that kind of cutting in the next strip. My fabric pieces that are the pieces I'm going to weave in this case, these fabrics are the same fabrics that I use there, so it just shows you what the stitching does. But for this, I chose, I mean, this is a really, really, it's almost like it's very, it's a decorative fabric. But that doesn't bother me. Those are the colors I wanted. Again, a decorative fabric, not quite so, not quite as thick, but once again, and this one is 100% cotton, whereas that one I don't think is. And sometimes they're quite ugly fabrics, but you lose them in the weaving, and it's maybe I wanted the bits of blue in there. So that's a very, very old, it is 100%, but very old. This is an ancient quilting fabric. For my pops of pink there. Polyester fabric, love the colors, so I really don't mind that it's polyester. These two are 100% quilting fabrics. So you can see I don't mind what I use for the strips. I'm not fussed about for the weaving whether my fabrics are polyester or 100% cotton. I want the colors or the designs printed on the fabric. So you can see in my choice of fabrics that I used here that it really doesn't matter to me. And in the end, with all the stitching on, it really doesn't matter. When I stitched, last time I think I used 9 threads. This time I only selected 5 threads for the actual stitching on there. There was my variegated thread that I like to use on that stitching. Then for the stitching on the actual strips themselves, I first went with the pink because I wanted muted colors and I wanted to tone the whole thing down. So that was the kind of stitching. It's your, you know, your free motion quilting stitches really, but I did it very close together, much closer together than I've drawn here in the pink. It was that kind of stitch that I used there. With the blue, again, one of your very basic filler stitches when you free motion quilt. In the blue, it's like a bluey grey, and that toned the whole thing down. Those three, I used that top stitch stitch that I spoke about last week, and also again quite muted colors. You can see the yellow there, but you can't. You really have to look for the others. I didn't want any of the stitching to be in my face at all. I wanted that look. So those were the three I chose, and that's all I did was top stitching with those. No other stitching, as I unlike in the last video on the weaving. And that was it. And I think it's worked very well with my center. I wanted the center to pop out. I didn't want my border to overpower that center, and so that's why I chose to do what I did there. I will try by the next time to perhaps use my sample pieces and complete those two. I won't talk about them, but I'll have them for you to look at so that at least you could see what the other options turn out like. The next little video we're going to put out is going to, we spoke about this in the first weaving video, that we would be making a spectacle case. So I will put out, my next little video will be the making of the spectacle case. And please remember to like and subscribe if you want to get notification of videos coming up.